Howdy, you two. I guess everything really is bigger in Texas.
No, please!
Time for Homebrew Hoe-Down!
Today's Hoe-Down is on random treasure generators and loot tables. Now, some may say that loot tables are antithetical to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And while handpicked loot is a lot more of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay's style, it is nice to leave some things up to chance. Sometimes. Now, loot tables have been pretty much taken out of the game since 1st edition, and outside of Carrick, Asgol, and Tui, there's been no official loot tables. So, let's just jump in and start from oldest to newest. Back from 1E, Dan White gives us an interesting series of tables, sorted by slaughter margin. These range from such treasures as a Beastman's Willy, all the way to Runefangs. Yes, this is definitely Oldhammer, and probably not a good fit for your games.
Boy, Sigmar, we're making it out of the hood with this one, Rover!
I do like the way it's set up though. Up next, we have the Winds of Chaos 2E Random Treasure Generator. This one, though fairly bare bones, is actually pretty nice. It generates a bunch of very lore-fitting items. Many of these absolutely could spice up a campaign. I'd say this one is still usable even in 4th edition. Up next, one you're probably familiar with, a 4E generator by Frankie Muniz? So that's where he's been. Well, hats off to you, Malcolm in Middle, because this generator's pretty good. You can type however many things you want to be generated, and you can even choose from a few specific categories, or a smorgasbord of all of them. What I like about this one is that it tells you the worth, scarcity, and weight of everything generated. It also gives the items qualities like fine or durable. Finally, let's look at the unofficial Treasure and Artifacts Homebrew Splat Book for 4E, written by Chris McLean. It starts off with a sort of foreword, justifying the existence of random loot tables in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Then it dives right into the meat, giving a table for weapon and armor flaws, for loot scavenged from enemies. I love this because it helps mitigate power creep and makes the setting grubbier. It makes finding a good set of armor or trusty weapon all the more impactful. Maybe it doesn't fit, or maybe it's about to break. We then get the loot table proper, and it's big, color-coded by status. You pick a location and roll left to right, and see if you get something and how much of it. Some of the larger quantity generation mechanics are a bit jank, but nothing a custom dice roller can't expedite. Each category has subtables, breaking down what sort of things you might find, from silver plates to gold earrings with topazes in them, to expensive art pieces, to a wide slew of various practical trappings. These tables are so helpful. Next is a section on magic items, and part of the trade-off of having magic items on a random loot table is that they are actually dangerous and must be tamed to be safe to use. On one hand, anything that makes magic more dangerous is definitely more Warhammery, but I'm not sure about this whole magic weapons have willpower stat, and minds of their own and must be mastered stuff. These rules give magic items a chance of just outright killing you.
Oh, stop making me out! Get out! Oh, much better.
Speaking of artifacts, McLean lists several, as well as a pricing guide. Flying carpets, gems of Nurgle, and even Runefangs. At least it's not on a random table, I guess. Ah, crap. So, these next few tables are pretty neat, detailing the nature of your generated magic items. Maybe they glow when halflings are nearby. We get tables for properties for all sorts of different types of magic items, such as ammunition and armor. There are specific examples for certain categories like containers or cloaks, and there is actually so much stuff here it is kind of insane. There are even some guidelines for making demon-infused chaos weapons and runic weapons. Not only that, but specifically, there's even human-made runic items, harkening from some 1st edition lore that is, in my opinion, decent enough to use. See, a wizard ambushed a dwarf caravan and kidnapped a runesmith, tortured him for 6 years, stole the secrets of runecraft, and absconded. However, Umgak is Umgak, and the crude runes mimic a mere fraction of the power of dwarf runes. On the flip side, these so-called Klausser Runes can repeat, and you can slap 5 of them on something instead of 3. The book then finishes off with a table of curses for cursed items, and finally a list of sample magic items. And that's the Hoe-Down. Have a happy
Thanksgiving.
if I don't see you before then, and make sure you don't forget the bullets! Ah!